This is TNA, the new face of professional wrestling.
And now, from Stage 21 at Universal Studios at Universal Orlando Resort, it's total non-stop action wrestling impact.
Jeff Jarrett defends the NWA World's title against the winner of an elimination match involving DDP, the Alpha Male, and yes, Kevin Nash. Don't miss Final Resolution. And yes, this is Stage 21 at Universal Resort, Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. And hello once again, everyone. Yes, we're at ringside. It's Mike Tenay and Don West. We're counting down the days, the hours, and the minutes. This Sunday, Don, it's Final Resolution on pay-per-view. What a lineup.
Mike, the lineup is getting better and better as we speak. You are going to see one of the most valuable players from Turning Point. Prime time. We all remember the incredible move that he did. He will be in action. The charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy will be in action. You're going to see Dustin Rhodes take on the notorious KID Kid Kat.
You will also see Raven one-on-one against Eric Watts, plus America's Most Wanted, to challenge Team Canada for the NWA Tag Titles.
Hector Garza's going to take on Scott Hall. There's going to be a special referee. It is going to be Rowdy Roddy Piper and Ultimate X. We already know of Petey Williams. We already know of AJ Styles. And tonight, we'll find out who the third member will be, either Christopher Daniels or Chris Sabin.
And how about that incredible triple threat elimination matchup? This is what we've been waiting for, Don. It's going to be Diamond Dallas Page. Yes, it's going to be Kevin Nash, the Alpha Male Monty Brown, one of those three individuals that very same night, this Sunday, will challenge Jeff Jarrett for the NWA title.
What a night! January 16th, Final Resolution has Team Canada, who will be in action against America's Most Wanted to defend their titles, coming out to a chorus of boos.
This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbello Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The queen, yeah. The cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American Dream! Dusty Rhodes! Too sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this. I don't believe it.
What is going on there? The DeVito Ice, the Halloween Nights, all the ice out there, the left, the right, the Dems, the Repebs. What's going on to the Israelites, the Hamasites? What's going on to the Ukrainites? What's going on to the Russianites? What's going on to the War Raiderites? All the people who are, blasting the guns out there. All the Gaza Strip ice. All the ice out there, you violent motherfuckers. How y'all doing right now? You know what? It is a weird time, in 2023. And, I'm not going to get political here, but you know what? If anybody within this realm, the PWR, We are broadcasting in Ukraine. We are broadcasting in the Gaza Strip. We are broadcasting in Russia. We are broadcasting in the United States, Canada, China, Zimbabwe, Timbuktu, Wakanda, and all points in between. But if we can offer a little bit of positivity, if we can offer a little bit of happiness, if we can offer a little bit of joy in our nostalgic podcast, hopefully we are the great medicine that you guys need. Because you know what? Depression is a motherfucker. You know, anxiety is a motherfucker. Sadness is a motherfucker. And when you are tuning into the PWR Podcast at the Harmony Media Group at podbean.com, we want those smiles on your faces. We want you to laugh. We want you to, enjoy yourself. We want you to remember. We want you to reminisce, because we are the most nostalgic podcast out there. And with that being said, we are going episodic. We're going all the way back to 2005. And, in the Travis Volt bylaws, I always say 10 years and above is a throwback. So this is way beyond the throwback rules, Travis. But anyway, neither here nor there. But again, before we even talk about the episodic, I must introduce myself because I am dating like that. I must introduce myself because I know it'll bring a smile to all the Reflection Lights' faces. Because again, I bring the positivity. I bring the joy-gasm all the time. I am the most charismatic one. I am the most studious one. Why did you look at me with a smirk like that? I don't like that.
Joy-gasm?
It is joy-gasm, but again, before I lose my train of thought, I am the most eloquent one. I am the most affluent one. But most importantly, I am the most glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this political spectrum. You're a friend of mine, the Professor Chabelle Cruz. And I'm not here alone. No. I have my brother from another mother who also brings the positivity, who also brings joy, who also brings happiness. He is the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, the man that eats crap for your entertainment too, to make you happy. Dum Dum Do Idiot's own, the Iron Stomach one, Mr. Wonderful, Dr. Frickin' Stein. Woo! Tommy Wonder, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing, man. I probably should hit the power button if I'm gonna try to get these bicycles.
You're just glowing right there. It's we're recording this a couple of days before Halloween. Do
you always introduce yourself as your friend and mine, or did I get you thrown off by the face with the joy-gasms? Because you always call me that. You always call me that, and then I just
everybody's friend.
Yourself.
I am everybody's friend, but I always introduce myself in the third person. You got to do that.
I didn't think. See, now instead of just a select few dudes who knew the secret code to slide into your DMs, joy-gasm, now everyone knows it. I couldn't believe. That's why I made that face. I couldn't believe you told the world.
That is not a secret word. That's for the ladies. I bring the joy-gasms and the orgasms, but neither here nor there. But truth be told, again, TW. With the world topsy-turvy as it is, all the stuff that's going on, it is you and I, our mission, or it's our duty to bring positivity, to bring joy to the 12 that rise strong, and to bring the other listeners who don't interact with us, to bring a little joy-gasm. That's what I want to do. That's all it is. You bring it too.
I'm also the hall monitor of death. And sadly, over the weekend, I'm at a party, and before I walk in, I get a text from Travis and Matt in North Dakota, but also from my 3 daughters, informing me of the untimely passing of Matthew Perry. That kind of put a damper on my weekend. Then while I was there, I think it's obvious that my favorite sport is hockey to anybody that listens to this show. A guy overseas, used to be in NHL, Adam Johnson, was playing, and a dude kicked him on purpose. I can't wrap my brain around that. It was
kicked him with the blade. Kicked him with the blade.
And they evacuated the building. And so Saturday night when I went home, I'm like, wow, they canceled the game and evacuated the building. It must have been a real bad cut. Not expecting to wake up the next day to hear that the guy died. And apparently he died right there on the ice, which is why they evacuated the building, because they basically had to remove his body. And they didn't want the fans to be there for it. And then today I find out the guy jumped in the air and kicked him. And so now I guess the internet is divided whether or not the guy should be let me rephrase that. The thing I just read said it was split. The internet was split, but police are investigating now. I don't know how anyone could be split. If a guy jumps in the air and kicks at another man with a skate, the blade, not the toe, he basically, I didn't see it. I will not see it. I don't want to see it. It's even worse knowing the guy passed away. Again, Adam Johnson played for the Pittsburgh Penguins, which he didn't have a long NHL career. He's 30 years old or just about to be 30. It's sad all around, but I don't understand. You said the world is crazy, and that made me think for sure I had to talk about this, because I don't know how anyone can watch a lot of the things that are going on in this world right now and absolutely side with the side that is doing the atrocities. You
mean you're surprised that there is a split in the way we view things? The polar opposites.
I wouldn't be surprised if you are one or the other side of the conflict that's going on in the Middle East. If you sided with your side, that doesn't surprise me. This world is based on that. But just anybody, how anyone can visually watch something and somehow still be talking to other people who are for it, telling you why it's okay. It's not okay. And I'm not specifically not saying one side or the other, because I don't care what side did it. Whoever did the things that happened 2 weekends ago, there is absolutely zero justifying it. And if they retaliate and do the same thing, then I feel the same way about their retaliation. You do not murder and rape children. You do not torture people. You do not murder children in front of their parents and then show everyone that you did it. You don't do that and then let someone who's attached to it look at it and convince them that, oh, it's okay they did this because this happened 2 years ago. Or there's nothing. I'm a death penalty guy, but I don't want, like, you know how it is. Everybody
you don't want to see the death penalty at 8:00 on Channel 5. I get you. I get your attitude on that.
But I also I might not be bad with if it's what I'm saying. I'm okay with the lethal injection. I'm okay with the electric chair. The fact that crucifixion was an actual death penalty is barbaric to me. And what I'm saying is, when people say they should take that guy and drag him by the street, by the bumper, or tied to his ball because he did something to a child, I don't agree with that. I think he should be put down, but I don't think you take what he did and then do something worse to him by torturing him. It's just bang, bang, I'll go the lights. So for me,
in a topsy-turvy world, TW, the morals and ethics, the code is out the window.
The right or wrong is out the window. That's my point. There's right, there's wrong, there's good, there's bad, and there is a fucking divide between all four of those words now that is absolutely disheartening to me. That anybody and again, I know it's a lot. There aren't people saying it's okay what they did. I get that. It's moving the goalposts.
You just literally said that there's people taking differing opinions about a dude that just jumped with his blade onto another hockey player who died. So if that doesn't surprise you, then the conflicts out there shouldn't surprise you either.
The arguments are, the chances of dying by a fucking skate are slim. It's only happened. Blah, blah. Tell that to the guy's family that died. Yeah. Because you know what? If the dude doesn't jump and kick him, he doesn't get cut in the throat and die. That's the bottom line. Yeah. The guy's action caused that. I don't care about statistics. I don't care that people say, oh, you should get the vaccine because only 20,000 people died from it. Tell the 20,000 people's families. Tell them that, because they don't care about your statistics. They care that someone did willingly ended someone else's life, and it's disheartening to me. I don't get it.
It is, but you know what? Let's put I'm not going to say a positive spin, but let's try to put a little positivity on this, because you said one of the things we should at least say this. We want to celebrate. We're going to dedicate this show to the life and memory of Matthew Perry. Again, it's celebrity. And what's his name? Adam Johnson, the hockey player.
Adam Johnson.
And we're going to, the children and all that stuff, the people who are suffering right now, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Gaza Strip, whatever the case may be, we're dedicating for positivity all over the world for the people who are suffering right now and the families that are suffering.
Love, man. People need to love each other.
You got to love each other. That's all it is. But again, Matthew Perry, Chandler Bing, iconic character from Friends. That's one of the biggest ones right now, at least for American purposes right now. So, everybody's crying about that. And again, like we said, politically, whatever side you're on, Reflectionites, neither here nor there with me. I don't care. I'm very independent. I'm very centrist. So, for being a centrist, I can actually see both sides, but at least I don't teeter, TW. I never teeter. I want to stay centered because I stay, focused on the issues of both at hand, because I never want to be swayed, because that's why I'm the most objective man. I've always said this in the IWC, YWC, PWC punditry, and all that stuff.
I found out today that Matthew Perry was from Ottawa, Canada. I did not know that. I've been to Ottawa, Canada. I've wrestled there. I thought he was American all day long. So that's and you know what? I got to say this too. Once upon a time, I made a comment on the passing of somebody, and this is 12, 13, 14 years ago, whenever Facebook first started. And it was because on paper, the death was not a surprise to anyone. And it was River Phoenix. And because, to be honest, when I saw he died, I was mad, because I know people tried to help him. I know that, that he could have lived.
He couldn't shake.
No,
those
he
demons.
could have lived
if
he would have overcome them demons, right? So it made me mad. And then I also lost my best friend in a very similar way, but different. Similar in the fact that was the nucleus of it, but that's not what killed him. But
right.
And so it was more me reacting hurt. But then I remembered something, and I think I've talked to you about this. When Owen Hart died, and they did that 10-bell salute for him on Raw, I sobbed. I sat in my sofa and I sobbed, and my ex-wife looked at me both wow, blown away by it, but also hurting for me, seeing me hurt that way. And the reason I'm bringing this up is you see people after Matthew Perry died who are I don't understand why he's just another celebrity. You know what? That guy, for 20-something years, there's someone right now who not only watched that show every Thursday when it was on in its run, but has probably watched it every year since, and more frequently than just every Thursday. And to them, that person is, he's not in their life, but Matthew Perry is in his.
He was America's childhood right there.
Right.
Everybody
but he's something that
him.
No longer, and the ironic thing is, yes, he can still watch Friends. That isn't going to change. But the thing is, you have an attachment to that person. And when my ex-wife asked me, wow, you're taking that pretty hard. And I said, she asked me, she's like, didn't you just tell me a week ago he was your new favorite? And I'm like, oh, thanks for making me feel worse, because I didn't know I said that, but I remembered it when she said it. The thing is, there was two things in play here. One, this is a man that I saw he died in 99, I believe. Was it 96? 96. It was not long after Brett went to WCW. So, or it's 99, one of them. It was 90s. And when he died from 88, whenever he became the Blue Blazer, that guy was in my life for the next 10 to 11 years. Pretty much every week I watch him. And there's a difference when it's live, because you don't know what's coming until it comes, right? And on top of that, there were people on the stage that I personally knew who got to meet him and travel with him and hang out with him and wrestle. And one of them was his last match, which is Edge. And I saw them crying. So I hurt for them on top of hurting for them. And it's my idol's little brother. So all those emotions were going through me. So that's when people die that are famous, let people grieve, man. It's okay. You ain't got to make fun of somebody for being sad that a celebrity died, because some people mean more to someone else than they do to you. That's fine. But if someone came after you for being sad if someone you knew died, you'd be upset if they picked on you. So it's just, people should stop.
The attachment and connection, it's personal for everybody. So, if it's personal for you with Matthew Perry, if it's personal for you for River Phoenix or whoever passes on, just like a family member, it's personal for you. So again, let them grieve. So with that being said, we mourn who we lost, and we're going to try to bring the love and positivity on this show. And with that being said, we're going episodic, TW. It's episode 177, and this episode is not dedicated to Big Ray, but this episode will make Big Ray Hernandez's nipples hard because of the 3 letters that are back, Reflectionites. And if you don't know this, because again, I would say this, TW, and I'm the most objective man. 100,000 people watch this wrestling program weekly on Access TV if you can find it, and if you have it on your cable systems. Sometimes you got to stream it. Sometimes you got to find it on Fight TV and all that stuff. But again, the numbers don't lie. 100,000 watch it weekly. And I'm being nice right there. Sometimes it could go down to 99. Sometimes it could go up to 123. But in that span, there was a little bit of news in the wrestling bubble, Reflectionites. And I'll say this. 3 letters are back. It never left TW, but 3 letters are officially back in the title. The title. What was currently Impact Wrestling is now going back to its roots. It has been resurrected from the dead. The 3 letters TNA, Total Nonstop Action, is alive and well again, and it will be rebranded. Is it the right word, rebranded? But anyway, neither here nor there. Retro branded for 2024, Reflectionites. It is back with a thunder, TW. And before we even talk about it, because again, episode 177 Reflectionites, we're going to talk about an Impact episode, a TNA Impact episode, not from Spike TV, TW, but from the Fox Sports Network. I found one from 2005, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, Reflectionites. But let's talk about, because again, we got a hybrid, the present with the past, TW. And, you know, TW, you have a connection with TNA in certain instances with the people who are there. Scott D'Amore is the president. You had that connection with Border City Wrestling. And of course, Scott D'Amore has brought some of his Border City students or stalwarts into the TNA fold. You don't have to go with the names, but again, you have a history of a lineage of people from there to TNA wrestling. But I was thinking about this when I thought about doing the episode. So I'll say this, Reflectionites, again, being objective here. TNA, you've heard this joke, TW. TNA is the cockroach of professional wrestling because you can't kill it. You can spray with Raid. You can have blue traps. You can have roach motels, TW. You could bomb your own apartment, but TNA will still live on in infamy. Since 2002, TNA has lived on through ownership of Jerry Jarrett, through the ownership of Penn Energy, through the ownership of Dixie Carter, through the ownership of Billy Corgan, and now through the ownership of Access Television. So TW, Access Television, Anthem. Thank you for correcting me. He's the hall monitor of death, and he corrects my grammar. But anyway, neither here nor there. But
Mr. Redman.
But TW, what say you again with TNA coming back to its roots? And I'm going to say this because TNA has a sketchy history, not with its wrestling. It's never been about its wrestling because they've given one of the best wrestling products in its 20-year history. It's always been about management. But the one thing about TNA coming back is the reason that they had to switch it from TNA to Impact Wrestling, because nobody thought of TNA as total nonstop action. They thought of TNA as tits and ass, because Vince Russo was very preferent to say we needed a hook. We needed people to come in for some reason. If you thought it wasn't about the wrestling, he wanted people to hook on the letters first. Like ECW was that drug that everybody knew those letters, but it was synonymous with hardcore wrestling. TNA wasn't synonymous with wrestling. It was synonymous with porn. Well, let's say TW, because again, we'll talk about the sketchy history a little bit here.
It's funny because, like, give anything time, let it ferment, let it marinate, and then throw it out if it doesn't click, right? When it first started, my biggest problem with it, and I was wrestling, was, like you said, TNA tits and ass, right? And it's basically a Attitude Era theme, if you will. Like what did Eric Bischoff used to always call hot lesbian action, HLA. That's what it was.
Right.
So it was off that sophomore, if you will. And I just remember thinking, that's not bad enough that you have that as your wrestling handle. It doesn't say wrestling. Like, it's not like, at least, like, I don't like all elite wrestling, because they were called the Elite. I didn't like that because I felt like anyone in there who wasn't part of the Elite is going to feel second class, which has proven to be true. But anyhow, at least it says wrestling. It says All Elite Wrestling, right? AEW is a nice flow. So TNA comes out. It was TNA Wrestling, to be fair, but it just was like, that's stupid to me. And then inevitably that sentiment won out, and they changed it from TNA Wrestling to Impact Wrestling, which was the name of their TV show, in the same way that NWA became World Championship Wrestling, which was their TV show, right? I don't know if that was intentional or whatever. But since that happened, and I don't even remember when that happened, it's been Impact for a long time now. And
I'll answer that question. I think it was 2000, and I think it was during the Hogan year. It was 2012 or 2013
when they got rid of the six-sided ring.
Yeah.
And which I hope they don't bring back. It's fuck. That was another problem I had with it, was that shit looked like a fucking circus show. But anyway, I can honestly say that for at least since we've been doing this show, I call it TNA. I try to say Impact when I do a hashtag online, when I have to take the time to type the hashtag, I put Impact Wrestling. Matter of fact, I don't think I put TNA in any of my Impact or in my figure posts or whatever. But I, at some point, thought, now TNA, when I hear it, I think wrestling. I don't think tits and ass. And obviously, to someone who's not a wrestling fan, they're still going to think tits and ass if they had that dirty mind like me and you. But I like it. I like the move. I hope they call the TV show Impact, so that at least if there's someone on the fence who's still looking for Impact, doesn't know they changed it back to TNA, they'll find Impact. I think it would be foolish to just get rid of the word Impact altogether. So I like it if they still call it the Impact Zone, all of that. But I do like the idea that three-letter words is how you fit in. MLW, NWA, they're not changing that. They're going with what works. And for us to talk about this show 18 years ago, Travis better not have any lip. By the way, he listened to our show. He told us that he doesn't have red hair.
That's a lie. We saw him. We saw him on that video, but anyway, neither here nor there.
Do you know how Bull Buchanan's son looks now on NXT? I don't know his name. He's Jensen and McQuaid or whatever. They're the little hillbilly tag team. With the
okay. Yeah. What about him?
That dude looks like Travis did when we were wrestling in the 90s. Same mullet, same Isaac Yankem hairdo, jeans with a big buckle, button-up shirts, probably the little leather string tie that the Cowboys wear. That dude reminds me of Travis every time I see him, much like the dude breaking the ring also looked like Travis when he got in there. And Travis, you have strawberry blonde hair. Is that better? Soon to
it's
be
red.
gray.
It was red, but neither here nor there. Again, the lighting made it red, so I don't care. I know you're trying to be officially correct, but that bad lighting in Florida made it red. But neither here nor there. But I understand where you're coming from with it's good business sense right now for the wrestling bubble. I'll say this again. I'm being objective, TW. I like TNA. I want it to succeed and all that stuff, but the problem is this: within its 20-year history, again, 21-year history, we got to be honest, because it went from we can't forget the history, the trajectory to get to TNA right now. It was TNA, it was NWA TNA first.
Right.
Then in 2005, when they broke away from NWA, it was TNA. I think for me, I was keen on NWA TNA because NWA was trying to do those syndicates, the little territories, but TNA was their biggest supporter, you could say, for the NWA belt to have some credence, some street cred. I had no problem with that. But then TNA wanted to break away, just like World Class and all that stuff. They wanted to break away from the NWA stronghold, even though it wasn't a stronghold in 2005. NWA was begging to be a partner with somebody. But again, neither here nor there. It was NWA
I was
TNA.
part of a promotion that was NWA.
Right. It was NWA TNA, then TNA, then Impact Wrestling. But let's not forget that little 6 to 8 month run of Global Force. Then back to Impact. And now we're getting to TNA. So again, the history of this company has so many name changes in one sense that we can't even recognize anything, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that. I'm just saying, you could change it to Spike TV, or you could go to Destination America, or you could go to Access TV. It's Impact Wrestling. I got that part. But again, this company has never had a strong, laser focused branding name. That's the problem I had. Then, of course, I'm just saying.
I would say TNA has probably been referenced the entire way, even when they tried being everything.
Well, again, for Vince Russo, he was right on getting the name that catches your eye. But for the branding part, again, NWA TNA and TNA is technically different. Impact Wrestling is different. Global Force is different. Now we're getting back to TNA, so it's trying to rehash nostalgia, which we're cool with this because we're the most nostalgic podcast out here. But remember, again, in this history, TW, it is a cockroach. But again, some of the raids, some of the Roach Motels, some of the glue traps, where's management? Jeff Jarrett, the founder, they had their run owning the company and all that stuff, steering the ship, but it can only steer it as far as they went. They got help with Dixie Carter and Panda Energy. And she did more than people give her a lot of credit for. Spike TV was a great partner, just like, TW, AEW, and Warner Brothers Discovery is a great partner for each other. So we never know where it will go. If you don't have that great television network partner, cable network partner, you ain't going nowhere. But again, that's part of the problem. And then management started. Then Daddy did not want to give Dixie a blank check to keep paying for all these wrestlers, these retreads from the WWE. He cut her off. Then Dixie had to find, new ownership. She needed new business partners, and that's where Billy Corgan came in. Then he got pissed off. He's like, "What the fuck did I buy? Yeah, let me get out of this." And then, like you said, Anthem Entertainment is now the new owner. And let's just say the ship has been, steadily going, is treading along.
The little engine that could.
The little engine that could. But I'll say this, TW. Before we even talk about the episode, again, reflection, you know how we are. We got to, hybrid the past with the present. But, TW, let's be honest. We're going to talk about episode from 2005. But in comparison from, let's say, 2005 to 2010 to now, the only thing that I would say for today's Impact or today's TNA in comparison to yesteryear's TNA, it was yesteryear's TNA was a stacked roster of men and women with knockouts and all that stuff. Today, I don't see that. I think the women are above the men. I just think the men are very lower tier to mid, and they're trying to make these mid guys main event guys. And I'm not, no disrespect, but that's the way I look at it. There's nobody besides today, maybe Moose, that's main event material in the Professor. I know Alex Shelley's the heavyweight champion. You have a connection with Alex Shelley. He's your Facebook friend. I'm not disrespecting him, but he's no different than Chris Sabin when they attempted to make him the TNA heavyweight champion. He doesn't draw. He doesn't. I'm not invested in that. That's just me.
He's wrestler's favorite wrestler is what it is. And the AEW fans probably love him. Unfortunately, I guess the question that would have to be asked, and it's fairly or unfairly, take your pick, and it's what popped in my mind when you described it. I pictured Josh Alexander. I pictured Shelley. I pictured Sabin. I would say all three of them have something in common. It would be what would happen if they would have put the belt on Ricky Morton. And I think just people know it doesn't work to draw. It doesn't, for one, you're breaking up a tag team, right? That makes people mad. For two, it's just weird seeing them by themselves. But the question I think that has to be answered, and Moose, the answer is yes. Shelley, Alexander, and Sabin, sadly, I believe the answer is no. Until things change, would they ever be considered to be the champion of the WWE? And the answer is no to all three of them. I don't see a world where any of those three go in. They could be NXT champion, but they're not going to be, the exception, because I think
I don't even think they could be AEW champion. I don't think, even in that hardcore stint.
Until Adam Cole wins one. I agree with you. But that said, I think they're on the level of MJF, as far as stature. I don't mean, so what I'm saying is Finn Balor is probably because I would even say Daniel Bryan's bigger than those guys. You know what I mean? Like, if you're basing it off past champions of WWE, you know.
Or he's bigger with charisma, you could say.
Just bigger, like just a bigger presence and size. Finn is the smallest guy not named Rey Mysterio to be WWE champion of any kind. He wasn't world, but he was universal, right? So, and he was first. So if he doesn't get hurt, maybe that's what that belt would have been. Would have been guys who are AEW or Impact level world champions could be that and be called Universal versus it's almost like a next level Intercontinental title. Now they have a world champion and an undisputed WWE champion, and I don't see those guys being considered to be the champion in either, unless they fucking tore the house down and lit the world on fire and they had no choice, which is what it took to get Daniel Bryan the title, and it didn't even work for Sami Zayn. So, because I would say they're Sami Zayn-esque, and but even he's a little bigger, but only because of his WWE legacy, if you will. The stuff he's done there is the reason Sami possibly will be champion one day.
But again, like I'm trying to say, in that comparison within the 2005 to 2010, the roster on the men's side, you had the hybrid of young up-and-comers, plenty of untapped potential, but of course you had the stalwarts that already had the names. Even in this episode, you had DDP, you had Kevin Nash. Of course, Jeff Jarrett was carrying the company because it was his baby. So he had to have the belt on him. So what say you again? Because again, you know, you already said Alexander and the Motor City Machine Guns, you know, they're perfect for Impact Wrestling. They're perfect for TNA to challenge for the heavyweight title. But again, if you put them in WWE and you put them in AEW, they just can't sell tickets. They can't draw dick.
Right.
So they're in the perfect situation right now.
And you can't blame it because WWE didn't give them the ball and let them, because Impact is giving them the ball and they're not drawing more than 100,000. But perfect example to compare your 05 to now is, I would say in 05, you had the roster. So you didn't need to elevate a Josh. And Josh got elevated because the other guy went to AEW, Ethan Page, or whatever his name is.
Ethan Page, yeah.
Ethan Page. So what are you going to do with him? Give him another partner? Then that's almost as crippling as when they put Leif Cassidy with Marty Jannetty. It just made both of them all fall off, right? But look at the situation. In 2005 to now, it almost feels like, and it doesn't help that the Machine Guns still wrestle as a team while he's champion, because now it looks like we needed a body. It doesn't look like it was the plan. It looks like we don't have enough people. And now
you're trying to hold on to something from the past and still give it to today.
I do like, and I'm not sure if I'm wrong, it's because I don't know for sure, but I think based on what I read on one of those Facebook posts, I think Shelley successfully defended against Josh Alexander when he came back. I like that they did that. Because if you have Josh Alexander win that belt from Shelley, then it makes everything that happened from the time he got hurt and surrendered it, which was when I was there, right before I was there for that YouTube pay-per-view thing or whatever the hell they call it.
Like he was holding it as a transitional champion. And
I don't like that Orange Cassidy has that belt now, because if he loses it to Moxley or whatever, then all those little hot potato title changes were because we didn't know what to do while Moxley was hurt, right? So I like that Shelley won, but now I'm going to go back to 05. There's a guy on this episode that we watched who's part of a tag team. It's a popular tag team. They both happen to be quite bigger than any of the guys we're referring to in Josh, Shelley, and Sabin. But one of the guys in this match went on to be the Impact World Champion, and it worked. And his name is James Storm, because he evolved. He went from being America's Most Wanted to being Beer Money to being whatever, how Cowboy James Storm, whatever his gimmick was. But he looked different in each incarnation.
Right.
Whereas Shelley still looks like he did as Machine Guns. Josh Alexander still looks like he did as Great North or whatever the hell they were called. They didn't change anything. Shawn Michaels did not look like the Rockers when he went and turned on Marty and got a whole new image, and he was off to the races. So it can be done.
To be fair, I know you're saying about the changing, But Roman Reigns didn't change his look until he really saw the light. He was still in his Shield garb, even as the champion.
But
so that was a mistake too.
But what did happen? The other two did change their look.
Mm-hmm.
Seth has fucking got a different outfit for each segment on a show he's on, and that was the year that Ambrose just started phoning it in and wrestling in jeans and a wife beater. Like he hasn't been the same.
I'm just saying, but some, like you said, I'm just giving you an example that maybe wasn't.
And I still think he looks like the Shield, other than the bulletproof vesting has that spider.
No, I give you that. I just wanted to at least point that out.
But I'm saying there's not another guy running around looking like him.
You know how people might accuse us of being WWE shills. I'm just giving what your
no, because I just said Shawn changed his look and it worked. He evolved. Roman Reigns evolved because another thing Roman Reigns didn't do in the Shield was talk. He's the one doing all the talking now, so he's evolved. Shelly is one of the fucking most beautiful human beings I've ever met in my life, inside and out. So I'm not saying this to be down on him. I'm just saying I love that they took the ball and gave it to him. I loved it when they did it to Saban. Unfortunately for Saban, he had tons of injuries. So it's good to see him back because he was gone for a long time because he was broken, man. Knees shot, all that. But I love that they gave him a chance. But like I said, I never look like tag teams.
I never mind people getting the chance at the ball. Don't get me wrong. I never, but I'm speaking as the paying customer. I'm speaking as the consumer, and I'm being realistic. And I say, I think you're doing you're the people that say you deserve it. I don't mind. Yeah, Alex Shelley paid his dues enough to deserve a run with the belt. But that still doesn't mean that Alex Shelley is the face of Access TV. He's not the face of TNA Impact Wrestling for 2024. Again, maybe I'm looking at it from the business standpoint, the mainstream standpoint, the consumer standpoint, and all that stuff. That's why WWE is at the picks and chooses who is deemed the mainstream, maybe, untapped potential crossover stars. That's why you keep seeing John Cena in the title picture. That's why you keep seeing Roman Reigns in the title picture. That's why you keep seeing Brock Lesnar in the title picture. The IWC marktards out there, yes, people could put in a great work rate, but if you don't draw,
put your asses in the seats rate.
Put asses in the seats. Look at MJF Reflection Nights. He has got it, but the problem with MJF, and it has nothing to do with MJF, TW, it's got to do with management. It's got to do with the machine that's not putting putting it on his back, promoting him, marketing him.
They did just have him go do that anti-Semitism thing.
But besides that, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying doing the press, doing the morning shows, all that stuff.
They don't push him.
And just push him
because they think if you have the belt, that's your push, and it's why there's a difference in the two products, and it's not an insult, it's a fucking fact. And now it's funny because what's going around is everyone's talking about how plans are changing. They don't know what they're doing to the end. Welcome to a wrestling company. There's a reason it's that way in WWE. They're trying for perfection, and they're also. I read something that was said. Jerry Lynn nailed it. Too many people leak things, so now they got to keep it to themselves because if they don't, you're going to give it away. But let's just go back to this. I this is what I would say is the problem with these guys being the face. You not only do you not see that guy.
Which name do you talk about?
We're going back to Impact, current modern day. Not only are these guys that you look in the ring and everyone in the audience is like, oh, he's definitely going to win. These are guys that people are going to look at and go, oh, there's no way this guy's winning. And there's a difference between cheering the underdog on and the underdog being the guy winning all the time. He's no longer the underdog, right?
Right.
The underdog doesn't mean you're little. It means you don't, because every NFL team's the same size, but no one thinks that the Denver Broncos are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but they did, right? That's the underdog winning. It's got nothing to do with size. It's got everything to do with the total package. And so when you see these guys in the ring, you don't think they're automatic wins. The second problem is there's no one there besides Moose who you think is an automatic win to beat them. It's just a lot of the same. It's homogenous.
You got a lot of great workers, Reflection as for today. But again, you just don't got a lot of great, I guess you could say it doesn't factor.
Yeah.
Draw. The people that's why TNA, and don't get me wrong, TW, we can actually compare what was going on in 2005 to 2010 to now, because give TNA Impact credit. I'm gonna give them credit, Reflection Nights. They're trying. They know their place in what
their audience.
And their audience. They know to pack those 200 seat places, the 1,000 seat places. And if 1,500 are trying to pay a ticket, that's a sellout, and people are trying to come into that building. So they're giving you that intimate atmosphere, and it's never an embarrassment. There's no empty seats, but they know the number, and they know not to try to overreach it. So, you do the 200s, you do the 500s, you do the 1,000s. Maybe you could push it to 2,000 TW. I think they could do 2,000. I don't think that would be a problem. But again, you never know, because OVW had a problem for putting 75 people in the Danny Davis Arena when I saw that documentary. But neither here nor there. So with that being said, Reflection Nights, let's go back to this 2005 episode TW of TNA Impact, January 14th, 2005. And this was the go-home show, Reflection Nights, because a couple of days later, TW, there was a pay-per-view that was happening. It was Final Resolution. I guess it was, it was their New Year's themed TNA event. And the main event of that one was, Jeff Jarrett defending the title, and he had a lot of people chasing him. Just kind of reminds you of MJF, because MJF has a target on his back. Jeff Jarrett has a target on his back, TW, and the people that were looking to beat him for the NWA 10 pounds of gold was DDP, Kevin Nash, silver-haired Kevin Nash, mind you, and the third one, which I want to talk about, TW, because we could call him untapped potential. We could call him like what could have been if TNA actually did its job and put the bootstraps on him and maybe gave him a platform to be maybe the heavyweight champion. But again, the problem with TNA, especially in 2005, was the title underneath the heavyweight title was the X Division. Monty Brown, alpha male Monty Brown, was not an X Division guy, even though they talked about no weight limits and all that bullshit. But you needed a better.
He would have killed the guys there. He would have been the guy. This guy's going to win.
You would have needed you needed that television title or something like that. You needed an international title. You needed a TNA international title.
Media champion.
Or digital, whatever the fuck that is, or the TNA MySpace title, or whatever the case may be. But let's talk about first.
Time out. When I first heard it, I thought it was stupid too. But when I heard the reasoning behind it, they're not always on TV. So to call it the Digital Media Championship is the modern day TV title, because you're going to see it on YouTube. You're going to see it on
Fight TV, on the streaming apps. Yes, I get you.
Right. So it is a digital media title in the fact that you're going to watch it on a digital platform. So I don't want to knock it too much. It's a weird title, but it's better than having the Mid-Atlantic Championship that was not in the Mid-Atlantic and then change it to the international title. Like that to me was weird, to change the name of a title 4 months in.
We don't need a grammar lesson, TW. We get that. But you know how wrestling fans are with the logistics and stuff like that. But I think a television title would have been suitable for the alpha male Monty Brown. But I wanted to talk about him first before we talk about the storylines here. Because, again, when I saw him on TNA, on Spike TV, and, of course, here on Fox Sports Net, I looked at him and I said, this guy has got potential. This guy has got charisma. He's got a look and all that stuff. He was a little bit green. He was green in the ring. Don't get me wrong, but he had that.
But what he did good. It was limited, but he did it good. That pounce.
They accentuated the positives, and the most positive thing that they accentuated was, you got to say it right, the pounce. But let's say, TW, about the untapped potential of Monty Brown, because again, TNA dropped the ball in not giving him that run. And then, of course, WWE, ECW, we don't want to get into that because I think he had a lot of personal family issues that he couldn't really hone in on that WWE, ECW.
But they were willing to do it. They were giving that dude to go until he left.
Again, I just don't know. But what say you about the alpha male Monty Brown?
I didn't like his talking. Example.
But again, he was very green.
Ricky Starks a Rock wannabe, and if you're gonna call LA Knight a Rock Austin wannabe,
Okay.
That's my first take on Monty Brown when I first saw him. Was like, this dude's trying to be The Rock, right down to the shirt, because he always had some kind of big button-up, like loud shirt. That said, 20 years later, 18 years later, I still remember him, and I didn't need to watch this episode to remember. I think he's from Detroit too, and so I would ask people about him, like, what happened with him? And you might have been one of the people I asked. I think you told me, somebody told me his sister got sick, and that's why he left WWE. And he went home to take care of his sister. So
it was a family issue. So it wasn't like no personal demons. He just wanted to make sure he
went and took care of his family, and you can't fault that. But I think in time, like, we all know Booker T flubbed an interview. It's pretty famous promo, but he ended up becoming way better. And who knows? Right. So I wouldn't say he's untapped potential, because I think just in this episode alone, he's being put in a position that you think he might win the world title. He was in WWE. He was pushed at the little bit of time he was there in that Impact ECW. I forgot it was even ECW. I thought he was on Smackdown. So but that's your problem, is you just try to act like it never happened. ECW is your Halloween Havoc 96 or whatever year that was, where it did not happen.
98 for you, but neither here nor there.
See, I don't even know the year that it didn't happen, because it didn't happen. But but I think he had it. I think he could have gone on to bigger things, and I think including WWE bigger things. In life had other plans for him.
I look at it this way again. If you want to merge the personal family issue, you could say that he wanted to take care of his sister. I think TNA Impact Wrestling TW would have been perfect for him to stay there, because again, the schedule would have been lighter. He could have just, maybe they could have flown his sister maybe to Florida at a local facility where he could, go there and then come to Universal Studios and all that stuff. Again, Panda Energy Reflection Nights, they had billions of dollars. They were on par with Vince McMahon and his billions and all that. They were richer than Vince McMahon, and Spike TV was willing to work with TNA Impact Wrestling and all that stuff, TW. But within this episode, TW, we have to at least talk about the empty arena segment, if you will, with Monty Brown, Kevin Nash, and DDP. Now, I have no problem with the empty arena segment. I had a problem with who was interviewing them, who was doing the interview.
Never heard of that guy before.
He was a race car driver. That was a race car driver, Jeffrey Hamlin. I was laughing my ass off.
I'm like, who is this guy?
That was a NASCAR driver.
That would explain why I wouldn't know who he was.
Yes. So TW, again, that's my faux pas of looking at this. Mike Tenay, you have the professor, not only me, but the professor Mike Tenay. I would have even
just recently inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame, TNA Hall of Fame.
Congratulations to him. I would have had Mike Tenay do that, or I would have had the franchise Shane Douglas, who was doing backstage interviews, to do that. I think franchise would have been a better interviewer. He would have been a better antagonizer to get people like to rile themselves up. So what say you about this segment?
So two things. One, I was stunned to find out it was on Fox Sports Network. I don't think I ever knew that. So I'm sure
it was on Friday. I know this well. It was on Thursday or Friday, depending on where you was. Reflection Nights at 3 or 4 o'clock.
4 p.m. on Friday. They announced it on the show, and then the replay that they were excited about was Friday and Saturday at midnight. They replayed it, and then bragged about having 3 hours of TV. It's like, no, you have 1 hour of TV, but that is a testament to one of the reasons why they're still around, is they took what they could get. And that Friday at 4 is I'm telling you, I watched a lot of wrestling. Actually, Friday was the one day they didn't put AWA or Global on ESPN. They put it on Monday through Thursday, and then Friday was some other sport, and then it came back on Monday and you watched it again. Unless there was no sport in season, then they would play it on Friday as well. That's a good slot. That's a wrestling slot. That would be like if AEW did 805.
I understand your nostalgia, but again, let's be real here. Fox Sports Net at this time in 2005 was in its infancy, right? And they were trying to grab. They were in its infancy. It was about 2 years old, and they were trying to grab and reach for those ESPN fans who they thought they felt jaded with the presentation of the sport.
Right. And if you're going to put a wrestling show at 4:00 on Fox Sports Network. You're trying
but
to
it was
get the ESPN,
it was still young, but it was still young, and it wasn't available in many homes. I'm just being for real here. So I get what I get your sentiment, but of the nostalgia. I'm just giving you the reality.
Hamlin was there. It was something Fox wanted. Like, put him in here, and we can tie NASCAR to Impact, which is not a bad move.
Yeah, but again, I was just laughing with Jeffrey Hamlin, man. It just
I thought DDP
weird.
Was Christian when it came to the commercial, and it was coming in from the commercial. I'm like, I go, how the fuck is Christian there? And they don't even talk about him in the other segments. And they go, hey, DDP, what do you think? Are you DDP or are you Diamond Dallas? Whatever works for you.
Again, the question that was a fan. That would be like me interviewing these three guys and like, do you want me to call you DDP or do you want me to call you Diamond? That'd be a fan. You don't do that. That's why I said that you needed that professional touch.
No, for sure.
You needed the.
You would have been like, hey, will you slide in my DMs? Password's Joygasm.
I'm going to put the finger up right now on the video. Okay. But anyway, talk about this segment, TW. What did you like? What did you not like? What did you have confusion about? You know, all that stuff.
I liked that. So the fact that it was in the empty arena is the only way Kevin Nash can do what he did, because what he did could have either gone well, like it did, or it could have gone south. And the fact that either A, he would have cracked up the whole set, or B, pissed off Monty Brown when he said, I'm in it for the money. And if I can, I want to get my sister's shirt back from this guy if I can. And he pointed at Monty Brown's shirt. So it was a fun, very Kevin Nash-esque promo. And they did all laugh, including Monty Brown, but they didn't go off the rails of the segment. So I liked that part. What I didn't like about it was, it seems... I love Jeff Jarrett. I do. I'm glad he's still around. I'm glad he's like top guy. You know, I hate that term when they say it. I mean, he's not just there. Like Matt Hardy is just there. But
he's got
whether it's Impact,
he's got a lot of hats in the AEW. Let's be real. He's got a lot of promotional hats. He's got marketing hats. He's doing a lot more behind the scenes.
But what I'm saying is he's on top. He beat Eddie Kingston so that Jay Lethal can lose to him. But the problem I have with Jeff Jarrett is, and this is probably why I should have been watching Impact, because hell, that's as close as I'm ever going to get to getting the phone call is when Scott D'Amore and A1 and Petey Williams are a faction called Team Canada, and I was CIA up here with Pelon and Jeff, who now works there. If I would have just, kept my nose to the grind, but I didn't reach out to them anyway, whatever. But when I watch it, it's too much Jeff Jarrett. And I was interested in seeing what these three guys did, because I wanted to see how Monty held his own with DDP and Kevin Nash. And then Jeff Jarrett comes out and interrupts it, turns into a schmoz, and you're just like, why do I feel like every time I watch Impact, this happens? And then Jeff Jarrett says, you buried a lot of people in WCW, but this is my show. This is a Jeff Jarrett show. And it's like, there's fourth wall and there's fourth wall, right? And we talk about it a lot on this show. Trust. You put the belt on your kid because you know your kid's not going to leave you high and dry. Jeff Jarrett puts himself as champion because he knows he's going to not leave himself high and dry. The problem is, he also tells you he puts the belt on it. Like, he's not leaving anything to the imagination. He's making me feel like he's never not going to be champion, and that anybody getting it is just holding it until he takes it back, so he's the 15-time champion. And that's what I did like.
Let me just say, to be fair, maybe in this sentiment, it is 2005, TW. We are in the digital age, you could say. We're getting more into the social media. So isn't he adapting to the smart marks, you could say? They know, they have an idea of the lingo, and they know why Jeff is holding on to that belt.
There's one problem.
Is he playing along to those marks?
You can play along to it all you want, but there's one problem.
What's that?
He's not universally liked. At best, he's 50-50. He's polarizing.
Okay.
If he was universally liked, like if LA Knight was running SmackDown and put the belt on himself, the people would eat it up. But if half the crowd hates you and half the crowd likes you, or even worse, if a third likes you, a third hates you, and a third's indifferent, and then you just run around with the belt all the time, you're turning people off.
So that's
2/3 of those people are turned off. The ones that don't like you and the ones that are indifferent.
So you felt that Jeff Jarrett at this time had three problems: the people that don't like him and the people that are indifferent with him, and then there's a small sector of the people who wanted that alternative from WWE to watch something. So they're almost doing events. Oh, okay. So I'm just trying to give that analogy reflection as I get it. Again, Jeff Jarrett had to wear a lot of hats for TNA, but he had a lot of
one complaint in wrestling fans. The IWC, YWC. What's the number one complaint? It happens for every show. It's not. I don't mean the number one division. That's WWE, AEW. What's the number one complaint from a wrestling fan, especially the ones who don't get into the tribal nature of it? Their number one complaint is that their favorite guy, some of these fuckers have 30 favorite guys, isn't champion.
Right.
If Jeff Jarrett runs it, if he tells you he runs it, if he comes out as champion, and if he's wrestling Kevin Nash and DDP, who nobody wants, you're already telling everyone Monty Brown is not winning this match, nor will Chris Harris. Neither will James Storm. Neither will Bobby Roode. Neither will AJ Styles. None of these guys are ever going to be the man because you've already told us that you are.
And with that sentiment, I mean, even with this empty arena interview, you got two, let's say, legends. You got two icons in DDP and Kevin Nash. So that would be a great alternative for Jeff Jarrett to give the belt to known names. And then you leave Monty Brown with maybe the IWC darling, you could say, the internet darling. He's left in the dust, Reflection Nights, that he doesn't get what I thought he was richly deserved. And maybe a 6-month run, which he never got. So I guess we can look at it from that standpoint. So yes, Jeff Jarrett had a lot of hats, Reflection Nights, but he had no choice because he was the founder and he had to keep the lights on in TNA, TW. So I'm just being real there. So it's hindsight right now. We're saying all this, but he had no choice. He made those decisions. Maybe he could look back on it and say, "I wish I would have went this way. I wish I would have."
Ended up doing that with AJ, but possibly too little, too late.
Yeah, I guess we could say that. So within this episode, TW, we could look at, I guess, you talk about the connection that you have with Scott D'Amore, but the funny thing about Team Canada, TW, was at this point in 2005, they were at its strongest. At this point, they were at its most dominant. And the funny thing about Team Canada was the history about Team Canada was this group, I guess I would say this, even with that small crowd in the Impact Zone, even in that small crowd in Nashville, when they used to do the Nashville shows on the pay-per-views every Wednesday, they were organically over because they were together for the World Cup. They weren't together. They weren't just formed like the Four Horsemen. They weren't just formed like the NWO. They didn't just name themselves Team Canada. They came from that storyline of the World Cup, Team Canada, Team USA, or Team Impact and Team Japan, or something like
Team
that.
USA.
No, I'm just saying, but it was the World Cup first. Right. So out of all that in the World Cup, I don't remember who was on Team USA. I don't remember who was on Team Japan. I don't remember Team Mexico, but I could sure, and I know a lot of Reflection Nights, and even you know who Team Canada is because they were on your TV every week because they had Scott D'Amore as the antagonizing manager. You had a lot of untapped potential young studs like Bobby Roode, Eric Young. You had, what was the other guy's name? A1, and I think there was another one, Johnny Devine or something like that.
Johnny Devine and Petey Williams.
And Petey Williams. So you had young studs, young up-and-coming studs, but they were given a platform because of the World Cup. But the fans not only resonated with them, but they were invested with them. They wanted to boo. They loved to boo them. And I think Jeff Jarrett, at least in one of the correct booking decisions, was keep Team Canada together and give them storylines like that. Because I think, who was the tag team champions? I think it was Eric
and Bobby
Roode. It was Eric Young and Bobby Roode as the NWA tag team champions and Petey Williams as the X Division champions. So what say you, TW, about Team Canada? I think it was one of Jeff Jarrett's correct booking decisions by keeping them together and giving them that kind of run as a strong antagonizing group.
I think that's all Scott, because Scott was something back then. I don't remember what he was, but
he might have been a scout. He might have been a booker too. So I'm giving him his credence.
Well, they had that relationship with BCW too. So those were all BCW guys. Every one of them. Petey was in the CIA for a couple times, one or two times. It would be like if Hogan, Beefcake, the Nasty Boys, and B. Brian Blair had a faction. It's five guys that were already together.
Wait, that sounds insulting now.
No, I know that. I'm saying that's what they were behind the scenes. They were five guys that were always together anyways. Those make the best factions, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
because of the connection and camaraderie and all that stuff.
The instincts. They know what they're going to do. It's like when I deliver furniture. If me and you deliver furniture every day, I don't even need to talk to you because I know what you're going to do, and we do it. And then you call in sick one day, which, by the way, that's what it is, calling in sick, not calling off. You fucking weirdos to say that. But I would get put with someone else, and I would do what I thought I would do with Professor, and then Big Ray goes a different way, and then the two of us are on the ground with a dresser on top of us because you don't have the cohesiveness of working together every day like you and I would. And that's what those guys were. They had a look. The Team Japan didn't all match. The Team USA didn't all match. Team Mexico looked like every fucking luchador that's still in wrestling today. They all just had their own little fucking pinata outfit with the fucking things hanging off the mask. And you know what I mean? It's not a bad look. It's a nice pop. But it's confusing when there's five of them because you can't even tell which one's which. Team Japan was probably the closest to looking like not Team Canada was just peacocking all day long. They all had Canada shit on their gear. They all had the flag. They had the sticks. They had all that stuff, and they had Scott D'Amore. I don't even think USA Japan and Sonny Ono part of Team Japan. Did they have like a manager?
He might have made an appearance that I think even for Mexico. I think
Tajiri was there for some reason or someone like that.
I don't remember. I remember Jeff Jarrett was trying to have that relationship with AAA and New Japan and stuff like that. So I think Sonny Ono may have had like an appearance. And I think Hector Guerrero had an appearance for Team Mexico and all that stuff as a manager or a coach and stuff like that.
And Team Canada from the onslaught was the heels. I think the other three were neutral, and then Team Canada was the antagonist for all of it. So no matter who was working Team Canada, the crowd was cheering against them. And so that worked. Like, boos are just as good as cheers, especially if it's not boo, get the fuck out of here.
It's energy. It's the energy that they bring to the match. It's energy that they bring into the arena or the impact zone.
And charisma. You're getting it pulled out of you.
And within this match, TW, they were building that Team Canada versus one of the, I guess one of your top TNA tag teams of all time, America's Most Wanted, for Final Resolution. So I think it was Eric Young versus James Storm here. And it's funny.
Match. WCW term.
Right. And it's funny when we look at it, TW, again, we got to compare, 2005 with 2020 Thresh, TW. Eric Young has, the maturation of Eric Young from what he was. He was the young, bumbling idiot of Team Canada. And then the maturation, in certain instances, he was one of the greatest comedy wrestlers of all time. I'm not saying he's number one.
He was fun to watch.
He was fun to watch. But then there were certain lapse in judgment in my eyes because I never took him seriously as this quintessential evil heel. And again, I didn't like Insanity. Me and Track.
Sanity.
We go, whatever. Sanity, Insanity. Fuck that. But anyway, me and A-Track Brown, the dirtiest of the city, we have debated back and forth about Eric Young. And he always accused me why the hell do you hate Eric Young? I said, I don't hate Eric Young. There's just certain things I never took seriously. I never took him serious as the TNA heavyweight champion when he was a Daniel Bryan ripoff. I never took him seriously in Sanity because I never believed it. And when he came back to TNA and they made him the champion, but he was in that, I forgot that Violent by Design group. I never took it seriously because I never looked at him. I only looked at him as a comedy wrestler. I'm sorry, TW. But what say you about the maturation?
I think the comedy wrestler, if you're going to be progressive about it, he was the oddball in Team Canada. Then he became the fucking super EY, right? Then he had the crush on ODB. I think it was ODB. And it was all leading up to him being crazy. And then that's what he was in Sanity. That's what he is in Violent by Design. He's crazy. And he always was. If you look back, he just got progressively worse and more crazy as it went on.
I looked at him as sane in his comedy. But he was evil in that international elite thing. He was evil in certain ways. But again, neither here nor there. I'm just, again,
like
maybe
if Eugene would have ended up in Sanity, it would be.
It makes sense because he's crazy. Yes.
Right. And that's what I think Eric Young was supposed to be, crazy.
Yeah, but again, I can respect the comedy. I just don't respect the evil side of Eric Young because I never took it serious. But it's still a maturation for what he did because he has a longevity in his wrestling career.
It's nuts that this is 18 years ago that we're talking about this.
And let's not forget, you talked about James Storm, and in this captain's match, Eric Young won by some chicanery, but again, neither here nor there.
Hockey stick to the head.
With a hockey stick. Did that look like he hit him? It didn't look like he hit him.
It happened too fast. I was still reeling from Scott D'Amore taking the super kick from James Storm.
But what say you, TW, about the maturation of again, Cowboy James Storm? He looked a little...
He's a little baby fat here. Little pudgy, little baby fat guy.
Again, yeah.
He's come a long way. It was good to see him on that OVW documentary series because he came in and he's taking care of himself. I think I can't remember. I think it was issues with his family too, where he ended up not taking the NXT deal and went back to Impact. It was something to do with travel. I think he's a guy that would have been a star in WWE, especially NXT. But I think he could have went up and been bigger on the main roster.
You wouldn't have called him a Stone Cold ripoff with the beer drinking?
No, because if you're going to call him that, then you got to call Austin a Sandman ripoff, which I don't see a similarity in either one of them other than the drinking beer part. Like I think James Storm to me would be like a modern day Hillbilly Jim acting like they really act down in Mudlick, Kentucky, right? Like just a good old boy, drinker, partier, hunter, whatever, funny. I think James Storm has it, and I came around on him because I didn't like James Storm. I thought he was forced. I thought Chris Harris was the star, and then that guy, much like we talk about Scott Hall, Chris Harris is the reason Chris Harris never made it because he had a love affair with the bottle that changed his look, changed his body, changed his attitude, changed his work ethic. Right, but he got lazy. Is what it is, but again, I have sympathy for him, I have empathy for him, and I hear he came back on that TNA 20 and looked great. It was good to see him. They said so. I hope he's gotten a hold of his life and gotten a hold of those things. And hey, man, there's crazier things than 45-year-old guys making wrestling these days. Hell, DDP didn't come around until he was 38. So. James Storm can help him.
There is no age limit, Reflectionites, to the word redemption. So with that being said, I can look at it that way. But let me ask you this question, TW, because like you said, this was the captain's match. But I'm not talking about the captain's match per se. But it's kind of funny because we got to merge today with yesteryear. And it's not about TNA. It's actually about AEW because they're doing this captain's match. And we know a couple of days, maybe 48 hours from now, let's say kayfabe, right? It's going to be Final Resolution on pay-per-view. So do you think it's hot-shotting to the pay-per-view in certain instances? Because, again, another match within this FS1 TNA Impact was the final slot for the X Division Destination X match. You know what I mean? So do you want that long? Do you want a storyline with a purpose, or do you want this hotshot booking? Because again, the problem in the 2000s and WWE, was no stranger to it too, because they were doing monthly pay-per-views. They were hotshotting. They were doing hotshot booking just to get to the pay-per-view in the next week or so. So, what say you, TW, about that?
Do you mean because they had this captain's match in the first place, or because they had to finish the way they had it? What do you mean hotshot?
The philosophy itself, just the hotshot booking towards the pay-per-view, which is days away or 48 hours away. Sometimes people say,
I particularly like this style. I like having a captain's match before the thing. And I don't know what went down in that match, but I would gather, because of how this one ended, that America's Most Wanted won the tag belts from them, is what I would assume, because they lost in this match. That's generally how it worked in the NWA days, that the captain's match was won by the bad guy. The good guys won the belts at the show or if you were dragging it out, they got screwed again, and it led to another match with a cage or a fucking manager hanging in the fucking cage, bird cage. It led to something else. But I like that because you're leaving people wanting more. You want, like, your first thought is, well, why don't you just have a tag match? I want to see them fight as a team. Well, then you're going to have to wait on Sunday. And then they have the one-on-one match. And if it was 2 weeks away, the next week you have Bobby Roode versus Chris Harris, and you have Chris Harris win. Now on Sunday, you don't know who's going to win because they each have a captain's match victory. I like it, and I only need 2 weeks for that, 3 weeks before leading up to it.
I'm just saying, TW, we've heard
you called it Final Resolution, right?
Well, that was the name of the pay-per-view. So that's,
and I think that means America's Most Wanted wins the tag belts because that's the finality of it. That sounds like, well, it probably isn't their WrestleMania because I think that's Slammiversary, but
that's the debate. It's
Bound for Glory.
Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania. But again, we've heard the rumblings of people like complaining like certain things are too quick or certain things are on TV for the purposes of to pop a rating and all that stuff. So I'm just asking you, in your humble opinion, what do you like? You know, in that concept.
The wrestling fan complaining about that is the wrestling fan that caused it to be, because these guys today, I wrote it on someone's post the other day when they were complaining about Andrade versus Daniel Bryan on Rampage. They were upset that it was on Rampage.
And I think people were upset they called it a dream match, and or something like that. Yeah,
for maybe Tony Khan's wet dream. But the point is, A, you complain there's not enough good stuff on Rampage. And now B, they put
it was on Collision. I'm just correcting. It was on Collision, but neither.
Well, there was a match on Rampage. That's why I wasn't sure if it was that match. There was a match on Rampage. It might. Oh no,
the match. I think it was Santana against Ortiz, and they put that on Rampage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on one hand, you say they don't do enough on Rampage. It's a throwaway show. Then they do something, and it's a match everyone wants to see, which means guess what? They want you to watch Rampage, so they put that match in there. You can't win. If they don't put it on Rampage, they're still bitching about Rampage. If they put it on Rampage, they're bitching that it's on Rampage. And then you also have what I said to that guy. I go, if you don't like this, then you wouldn't have been a wrestling fan 25 years ago, because there wasn't any good matches on TV. They were all setups so that you ordered the pay-per-view, which was only once every 4 months. And if you got lucky, you got a Saturday night's main event, and somehow that match always ended with outside interference or something that also made you have to watch the pay-per-view to get your resolving of the issue. So now everything has to be good. Every week, every hour of every TV show gets critiqued by these fans. And if it's not great, if it's not 5.5 Meltzer stars, then it's garbage. And AEW's better or WWE's better. You pick your poison. You can't, like this show we watched. I'm so reconditioned to today's wrestling that when I see this guy Cassidy Riley come out to wrestle, I think he wrestled AJ.
Yeah,
one of them wrestled AJ. And I thought, oh wow, who's this guy? He's got a good look. He must be somebody else now. He was a fucking jobber because they still did job matches, right?
Right.
I was like, you know what? Too bad that guy's gone. But at least they had a job match, because boom, now it's not. AJ just got put over. That's what the whole point of TV was to put a guy over so that when he wrestled a champion or whoever, then you find out who the good one is between two names. But today's wrestling, that's long gone. If they even dare throw a jobber in there, and they do every now and again, they throw a jobber in there. And funny enough, there was another guy come out, can't remember who it was, wrestles Candido on this show. And I'm like, oh, awesome, Candido. And
Dustin Rhodes fought Chris Candido, and he squashed him.
And I'm like, whoa, what happened? And sad side note, when this ended, I was on my phone, and the next thing that played on YouTube was, just got myself a little emotional. It starts with an I. Rebellion? No. Rebellion? Impact something.
Oh, Rebellion starts with an I.
No, is it Impact Rebellion or is Insurrection? Is that a pay-per-view by them?
No, that was a WWE pay-per-view.
All right. Anyway, it was a pay-per-view with steel cage match with Lance Archer and Candido versus Sarai and Apollo.
Damn, you're going back.
It's the match that broke.
Don't talk about that.
It's the match that Candido broke his leg and he died 4 days later.
Oh, okay. That was just an Impact. It was an Impact match. It wasn't no pay-per-view.
It was a cage match.
No, it was on Impact. It wasn't on a pay-per-view.
Oh, well, that made me sad because I was happy to see him on the show that we're reviewing, and then the next show comes on. I'm like, oh, look at this. And I saw him land and roll out of the ring, and then Lance Archer got in there, but then I stopped watching. But I looked up that Sakai guy. Sakai? I don't know. Anyway.
You wrestled in 2005. You don't remember shit, okay?
Anyway, I looked him up because I thought, is this Tama Tonga or one of those guys? Because he had a face that I thought maybe that was where these guys started before they went to Japan. They weren't. He was a former football player.
Oh, you mean Sonny Siaki?
Yeah, Siaki. Sonny Siaki. So I was trying to see a Siaki and Apollo where Tama Tonga and the other one.
No.
I know that now, but I don't know where those guys started.
In TNA, that's all we can tell.
No.
We can tell.
No, Tama Tonga and the other guy's brother or whatever.
Oh, Tongaloa.
The Bullet Club guys with the Punisher face paint. Where'd they start?
In Japan.
Oh, they never did Impact.
No, Tongaloa did. Tama Tonga didn't. Not that I recall. I never saw him on Impact.
And they're brothers?
Brothers or cousins. But of course,
one of them just re-signed with New Japan after thinking about going to WWE, and he didn't do it.
That was Tama Tonga.
Why aren't those guys going to AEW? I want to see those fucking guys wrestle, damn it. And not in front of this. Oh, I want a real wrestling audience watching these guys.
Well, watch the New Japan pay-per-views.
The audiences suck.
So drown them out. Pay attention to the match itself. But anyway,
and the commentating. Who's your guy? I can't do it.
There is English
commentary. Not a tape trader.
There is English commentary.
By the way, I was going to tease you and tell you that Cassidy Riley was Kenny Omega.
He probably is. Who knows?
It is.
No, he was. He was.
And then another bone to pick.
Pick it.
Yeah. I'm not a Vince McMahon apologist, but when you have three Adams in AEW, you understand why Gregory Helms is not Shane Helms. There ain't going to be three fucking Adams, or two Adams, let alone three. And when Adam Cole and Adam Copeland sound so much alike that the commentator called Adam Copeland Adam Cole, you got a problem. But what are you going to do?
There's no identical names in Impact right now that we're talking about.
No, there's Eric Young, and then someone squashed a dude named something else Young.
David
like
Young.
Man.
Dave Young.
Yeah, you look like Wimpy. I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
We're not talking about the squash matches. Let's talk about one more match, and then we'll get out of here because, again, it was pertinent to the Final Resolution pay-per-view because the main event reflection of this Impact episode from Fox Sports Net was the final slot of Destination X because 2 spots was already filled with AJ Styles and Petey Williams. But we needed another spot to be filled, and in the main event, it was a qualifier, you could say, between the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, and, of course, Chris Sabin from the Motor City Machine Guns TW. So, the one thing, of course, we haven't even said this here.
Wait a minute.
Wait, before anything.
There's another guy.
What?
Felix Skipper.
No, it was a three-way.
No, I think he was already in the match with AJ and Petey.
No, in the advertisement was it was a three-way.
Oh, trust me. They kept showing Felix Skipper.
Well, he's up and coming, and he wanted the X Division title shot. That was the thing. He was getting the black man wasn't getting the shots. You know how that is. But anyway, Fox Sports Net, of course, it was infamous on TNA Impact Wrestling that every match had a timer on the top or the bottom. I
liked it.
So during the Impact 1000 celebration, they actually brought that back for one or two matches. But I wanted to bring that, I wanted to acknowledge that again here. You say you like that? You wanted to see
the timer? But I didn't like that it counted down.
Well, it counted down for the fans, but that didn't mean that the wrestlers knew what the countdown was. So it didn't matter. I think for the
No. I would rather see, this match has been going for 4 minutes, not knowing when it ends. If it's counting down from 10, I know it ends at 0.
Well, you wanted to go up, not down?
I wanted to go up so I don't know that it ends in 4 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
they all won before that.
No. But it's actually funny because you can look at it from a philosophy standpoint because as a fan, when it's a countdown, you're looking at, let's say it's a 10-minute match, a 10-minute time limit match. You see it at 3 minutes. You're just like, okay, this is where something big is going to happen. This is the big climatic moment, and then we'll see how far it goes down. So I'm more excited for it to count down, but you're the opposite.
Here's why. Because when it's counting down, that's when you realize 10 minutes isn't a very long time. And you think there should be way more draws. So when someone loses and there's still 4 minutes left, you're like, fuck, man, that guy lost in 6 minutes. He's a bum. You know? I mean, you'd still feel the same way if he lost at 6 minutes, but at 6 minutes, you wouldn't know that ending's coming, is my point. You're saying at 3 minutes, you know they're about to pick up Sting and take it home, right? And every time they do that, it makes it look like wrestling scripted. Oh, see, there's the 3 minute mark. They got to take it home. Whereas if they're counting up and this match ends at 9 and this match ends at 6 and this one ends at 7, this ends at 8, you still got your little counter that makes it look official, but you also have no idea when it's going to stop. Counting down, you know for sure it's stopping at the latest at 0.
I'm a fan of the countdown. You're the fan of the count up. But within this match, TW, again, AJ Styles is already, they've already said that he's the pillar of the X Division because he was already a multiple-time X Division champion. Petey Williams, again, we already said this, Reflection Nights, he's part of Team Canada. So it made all the sense in the world that he was the current X Division champion to prove how strong and dominant Team Canada is. I forgot about this match, TW, and in hindsight, to me, I would have looked at this and I said, I thought the wrong guy won. That's just me. I thought Christopher Van Daniel was primed and he would have been perfect for the 3-way Destination X type of match, but they pulled the curveball even on the Professor because I didn't see all of the Fox Sports Net wrestling matches. Chris Sabin won this match. In hindsight, I know because he's been a TNA stalwart because he's still there to this day in 2020 Thrust. But I thought the wrong guy won, in my humble opinion. What's the ETW?
I would say,
prove me wrong.
If AJ is one pillar, Daniels is the second pillar because those two, and Kazarian, I think, would be the third. Those
Samoa
guys,
Joe is the fourth, you could say.
And Samoa Joe, those guys were Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal's got to have a name in there somewhere. I think Jay Lethal's before Samoa Joe. Wasn't Samoa in there later?
No, he was
there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Samoa Joe
I feel like every X Division match, it was either Jay Lethal, Daniels, Kazarian, or AJ. Those were the guys in there all the time.
And never forget Samoa Joe.
And then Sabin, obviously, and Shelley and Petey. But AJ.
But the reputation of TNA, the total nonstop action TNA, the alternative to WWE, was founded on the X Division, and these two still put on that type of hybrid match that, I'm not going to say flippity floppity match, but this is what the fans wanted. This is what the the athleticism. What's the ETW about this match and all that stuff?
Again, when I'm looking at it with revisionist history, I didn't see this live. I saw it for the first time. So to see Sabin win is not a shock to me. I'm not a big Christopher Daniels fan.
I looked at it from the hindsight, even looking at it from this day. I thought Christopher Daniels should have won.
Also, by the time this happens, I've already known Chris Sabin for a couple of years. So even if I watched it live, I would have been more happy for Chris than shocked that Daniels didn't win. But again, the Scott D'Amore part comes in. Sabin is a D'Amore guy. So the more you see stuff like this, the more you see, like, Petey's got a belt. These are guys that D'Amore brought in. It's showing you who the D'Amore guys are. And Scott and Jarrett did have a falling out. I actually talked to Scott about it last spring or summer this year. I didn't know they had heat, but it's good now.
The heat. I think the heat was because of
lawsuit.
Jarrett's. Not only the lawsuit, but Jarrett's demons too, and Scott D'Amore.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. Is D'Amore had to testify. So, and it was like, if it would be like, Professor, lie for me. And in hindsight, if you go up there and perjure yourself and you go to jail, I can't help you. So the only person who can help you is you by not lying in the first fucking place, right? So I would have to get over it if you didn't lie for me, because you're not going to save me from going to jail, only to end up we're both going to jail because I got convicted and you got convicted of perjury. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But they've been pretty tight for 20 years is what I'm saying. And I want to say, I don't know what year it was when D'Amore got the job as being, Jarrett still ran it, but D'Amore was his number 2 guy, like the Johnny Laurinaitis. And therein lied the problem. D'Amore was there for everything, for the Dixie and Jarrett falling out. D'Amore was the guy in the room when it all went down and how things went, whatever. I don't know much about that shit. I just know that they're good now. They weren't good for a while. But to see Sabin win wasn't surprising to me because, like you said, now he's the stalwart. He's been champion. He's been tag champ. He's their Grand Slam champion. He's had every belt they had, except for the digital media. They threw a monkey wrench in there. Triple Crown champion. But no, I wouldn't have been surprised to see Daniels win. But I think Daniels, AJ, and Petey wouldn't have been as good as Sabin, AJ, and Petey. And even getting rid of AJ to put Elix Skipper in there would have been even better because it would have been different. It wouldn't have been the same 2 or 3 guys every time. And we watched.
But at least at least with AJ, who can wrestle a broomstick to a 5-star classic, he adapts to every situation.
No, I don't mean that. He's one of my favorite people alive today. Which again is a guy I came around on because I don't like short hair AJ. I like long hair AJ with the gloves.
You have your standards. I know.
I'm saying in 2005, you've already seen AJ in X Division title matches 117 times. Now you have Petey, Sabin, and throw Shelley in there, throw Skipper in there, throw fucking Daniels in there if you have to. But if you throw Daniels in there, he's the odds-on favorite, is what I'm saying. AJ being in there, he's the odds-on favorite. If you have Skipper, Petey, and Sabin, you have no idea who's going to win. It just makes it that particular match. I don't think was a yay boo match. I think that match was the original holy shit match for popping for high spots, right?
Well, remember this. In this, one of the negatives of hindsight, you could say, is because Jarrett and maybe Dixie, maybe Panda Energy, maybe even Spike or whatever the case may be, they kept the younger talent at a certain level. So the level of AJ was no bigger than the X Division, even though he did sniff the.
So they didn't have to pay him.
That too. So, certain young guys, Bobby Roode and Eric Young and Samoa Joe and all that stuff, and even Christopher Daniels to a certain degree, they were stuck in that lower tier mid-card X Division rung that they couldn't get out of. And
what's funny?
What's funny?
Everyone you just named
went to WWE or something, right?
No. I'm not even going there.
Oh, what is that?
AJ. Bobby Roode, Eric Young. I don't think the Petey ever. They all inevitably became heavyweight champion, and we started this show off.
Petey wasn't a heavyweight champion in Impact.
Right, but Shelley or Sabin, yes. AJ, not Sabin, Young, AJ, and Bobby Roode, James Storm. These guys all went on. They're all fucking tag team guys. They all went on to be world champions in Impact. And we started off by talking about how Sabin, Shelley, and Josh Alexander shouldn't have been. But that's the difference, is the roster. Right. These guys look like they had no choice but to put it on one of them, whereas those guys elevated themselves to be one of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they had the legends to get them over, and I don't think there's not enough people with and it kind of makes
me feel like it's got nothing to do with the tag team part. Although singles Bobby Roode looks nothing like tag team Bobby Roode. Singles Eric Young looks nothing like tag team. So that still remains the same. Whereas Shelley, Sabin, and Alexander, if they're in the ring and all of a sudden another guy's in the ring dressed like them, you're not going to be surprised by their gear choice, right? Because it's the same fucking gear. Right. There's no difference in how you look in a singles. And the funny thing is, Sabin and Shelley don't dress alike. They got different gear, but it still looks like cyberpunk shit, right? So a lot of wrestlers had that same look now. But it just struck me that we're talking about all these different tag team guys that won the world title in Impact, and but we start off. But it gives credence to what you said about the roster's thin, and it looks like, who else are we going to put it on? We got to give it, because you got that other dude that just fought Okada, or no, he fought Ospreay. Quick kick Mike, or whatever his name is.
Mike Bailey,
Speedball Mike Bailey. He's fucking smaller than him. So it's like, and he's bland. Like, he's good, but he's bland. And
but
so
the
yeah,
internet loves him. But he's proof that the internet loves him, and he gets 5 stars and all that stuff. So it proves
5
the point.
3/4.
Whatever the case may be, but it shows again that the internet wrestling darlings that you love, Reflectionites, don't draw a dick, and I'm just being serious. So let's put a bow on this episode, TW. Again, it was a go-home show to final resolution, so it did serve its purpose, but just give your own assessment about it, roster, storyline, or whatever the case may be, so we can go home finally.
I love captain's matches. I love them because I hate them. I hate when they do it because I'd rather just see the tag team go, especially as a kid.
But then if you say you love captain's matches, isn't that then you're kind of hinting at creating a storyline because James Storm is the captain of America's Most Wanted? Wouldn't that draw that
because that's why the next week it's the other 2 guys. Mm-hmm. The next week it's the 2 that weren't the captain or the captain.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying.
And what I'm saying
you can
is,
create a storyline itself. Like I'm
saying, as a kid, I was mad when it was Dynamite versus Valentine and then Davey Boy versus Beefcake. I'm like, no, give them a shot at the belts. It was drawing heat from me because they were finding another way to not lose their belts because they're not even defending them. It's 1-on-1. So then when you finally get to the point where they do win the belts, your fucking whole world changes, man. You're like the happiest kid in school on Monday. You're like the fucking I wrote a song called "The Bulldogs Won the Belts" from you remember Dana Dane? I think it was Dana Dane. That began the nightmare on my street. I rewrote the lyrics to "The Bulldogs Won the Belts" and have a whole song that I still know by heart if I have to sit down and think about it because I was that invested in that.
That's a fan, Reflection. That's a fan right there. So
that's right. And
I guess you can agree with me that this
every week we do this, it proves that the Bulldogs are higher up on my fuck that. They're 3A. 1A.
We already did that show. We already did that show. We already did that show. It's gone. It's in
Bulldogs.
The archive.
I shortchanged them long enough. The Bulldogs are on the Mount Rushmore tag teams.
It's in the Christopher Paul Bruce Windman archives right now. He already heard that. We already done that. So I need to hear that. But
speaking of which, Travis wants to listen to old episodes, and I said that's a wasted wish because I'm pretty sure that's possible. I'm like, you should wish for other things, but he doesn't know where to find them.
The Castbox. You tell him to download Castbox, type in Pro Wrestling Reflection, and we can go back to 2021. That's as best as I can do.
Oh, he was not a part of it. He wants to go back to 2018 or 16 whenever I was there.
Oh, they eliminated those episodes.
I thought that there was something like the Hustle page had them or Podbean.
They eliminated those. They got
lost forever?
Yes. I didn't save them. I'm talent. I don't have them.
So Ray's probably got them somewhere in a lunchbox.
Not in his computer. He would then his computer would be slow as shit. He couldn't even do his next level.
He doesn't have like a fucking storage file thing.
You think he's that rich? I don't know. I'm just saying.
A fucking Smart Bank is rich. I bought it for like $10.
I'm just saying. Well, ask him. I don't know. Ray, do you have all the
right,
files?
Travis, if you're listening, it was a good wish because you're not getting it.
Yeah,
but
you need John Cena's Make-A-Wish to make that shit happen. But we ain't need to hear.
Telling you, man. Like, because some other podcast I was listening to, they said they're not on iTunes, but if you go here, they're on there. Spotify or Podbean or something. Maybe it's just the ones that pay.
Yeah, that's what it is. And with that being said, we close on this episodic episode 177. We're getting closer to the elusive 200. TNA Impact from January of 2005. What are we going to do next week, Reflectionites? I don't know, but I think I might have to do that movie that TN Couponer, Josh Flober.
What? Yeah, it's Monday. Never mind. Go ahead.
I'm just saying I might have to do that movie that Josh Flober, TN Couponer, sent the professor. He didn't slide into the DMs. He tweeted me and you to, respectively. I have to look at that, but it's a doozy of a wrestling movie, and I never heard of it. We might have to try to do that one. So I have to find that one.
I sent you a screenshot, and Ray, if you're listening, you should put it on the damn. You should put it on the the thumbnail because I told Professor and Big Ray, if someone walked in my room right now, they would be 100% certain I was watching porn because it was Trinity, Tracy Brooks, and Johnny Fairplay on the back of like a hay truck at a farm somewhere, and it looked like every 80s, 90s, 2000 porn.
It looked like a threesome waiting to happen on the back of a pickup truck. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. And then you thought I was asking if Johnny Fairplay was John Oliver. I was like, what's wrong with you?
I thought maybe you didn't
know.
And
Maven, if you're listening, you've got to, no matter what's going on with you and Big Ray, you've got a platform here with me and the Professor to come on here and confront him if you'd like.
Absolutely. Maven, your open invitation to Maven. And with that being said, we close on episode 177. So TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here. Like I said, next week we might try that movie that Josh Floberg sent the Professor.
Did he send a link to it? Or
yeah, he did. It's on YouTube.
Oh, good gracious.
Don't complain from the messenger.
I got a fucking laser disc that has better quality than a damn YouTube video. But alrighty, the Pro Wrestling Coalition Network sponsors us at PWC Network at podbean.com, where you can also find Hameen Media Group at podbean.com, and the HMG is also at channelattitude.com. Our show on the X is at PWR Reflection. Travis, I talked about you, so at Nuts and Volts PW. At this point, this is the last time I'm spelling his name, because if you have looked at him, and if you haven't yet, you're never gonna, but it's VOELTZ. So Nuts and Volts, VOELTZ, PW for Penis Whipped. That's Travis Volts. And Big Ray, you can find him arguing with Maven. You can find him sniffing the twig and berries of bin. Anywhere on social media, you just type in at Big Ray Hernandez. You'll find him there. And every Wednesday, he's doing the Next Level podcast live at 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you follow us, you probably see the notification on Facebook in your notifications. You can find me on X at Tommy Wonder.
Still want you on that show, so I'm just putting that out there.
I know, and I will on a Wednesday, Sunday, maybe from the Caribbean. Okay. You can find me on X at Tommy Wonder 19 to be mean, or at the Tommy Wonder to be nice. I'm nice on one, not on the other. Snapchat is #Wonder. TikTok is at the Tommy Wonder. Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder, and Threads, which I don't ever check because all they do is show me people like George Takai, who I disagree with 1000%. They show me his angry tweets or Threads, whatever, all the time. And I figured it out. They created Threads to bombard people who don't think like that, to shove them in my face so they think they're going to indoctrinate me. And you're never going to, Instagram. That also Big Vito Brand and his Big Vito and his wife Noelle. You can find them at bigvitobrand.wixsite.com, patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand, and you can catch the early release of the Reflection video at twitch.tv/the Big Vito Brand as well.
And you can find me on my Xer at PWSOPROF. That's PWSOPROF. And if this gets uploaded by A-Track Brown, that slow ass motherfucker, this will be available on the PWSO YouTube networks. Follow my brothers in arms, Billy Ray Valentine, and the Wednesday Locker Room on the Hameen Media Group at podbean.com at Obi-Wan You Know Me. And of course, A-Track Brown, the king of the reactions at the #8, TRAC Brown. And again, next week we might try to do that movie that Josh Floberg sent us. So, I'm on the fence about that, but we'll take a look at that. But we'll see. It's probably due. We're due for a movie. We have to go back to the movies. We have to eat the popcorn. We have to have the jujubes. We have to have the junior mints. We have to have the sodas, the blow, the hookers, and all that stuff. So with that being said, I'm the Professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, WWA's own, the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, George Takai's #1 fan. Yes, you are. Tommy Wonder saying good night, and we'll see you next time here at the Hameen Media Group at podbean.com. Peace.
Hoof.
Who's doing that?
At this point, I'm just trying to pop you. That's it. That's the berserker.
That has nothing to do with Impact.